beautiful nerds. Welcome to our 10th session of our mini-series, The Survivors of Ashcaleen, exploring the homebrew Dungeons & Dragons world of Odromia. I am excited to continue this journey with our beloved anti-heroes as they sojourn through this world, encountering all manner of new and exciting adventures that might have far-reaching and cosmic implications. But who better to introduce themselves than our wonderful cast, starting with Matt.
Hello, I'm Matt. I'm also known as Night out on the interwebs. You can find me on TikTok and stuff like that, doing all the things and all the stuff and all the what's not. And I have the pleasure of playing Hord'n, the genie-packed warlock and former sergeant in Ashcaleen's Red Guard. And he's very happy to be in the city of Brecca, for now.
Yeah. Taylor.
Hi, I am Taylor, otherwise known as Virus05 on TikTok. I will be playing Neska, a pure-blood U1T who has no idea about emotions and is on a journey of self-discovery.
Indeed. Something that we all as a group discovered together just a few minutes before we started recording was that one of us just had something incredibly special and awesome happen to them just this past week. And Taylor, would you like to mention what it was?
I got engaged!
And the crowd goes wild. And everyone does the wave. Indeed, yes. Honestly, congratulations. We're all so... I'm saying it like it's fresh news right now, but we've actually just spent like the previous hour before recording this just talking about how awesome it is. So really pumped, really excited for you guys. This is going to be great. And without further ado, last but not least, we have Victor.
Hi, I'm Victor _ the Storyweaver on TikTok. I'm going to be playing the Paladin Ivar, who started as Ivar the Banisher, transitioned to Ivar the Forsaken, and now is on a, journey of self-discovery and figuring out what comes next.
Indeed. And of course, as always, I'm your friendly neighborhood dungeon master, Andy, aka Mr.DanDyDM, and I can be found on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and on all the other socials, including Threads. If you happen to come across this episode and you enjoy it, please consider going all the way back 9 episodes ago to figure out how our characters got here and how they are the survivors of Ashcaleen. We do, of course, appreciate all of you who have liked and subscribed so far. Thank you all so much. All the love. We really appreciate it. And now that we've got our introductions out of the way, let us dive once more into another episode of The Survivors of Ashcaleen. Ozone. The smell is thick in your nostrils as the form of Fatema is lost to view. Giant blue arms wreathed in flame clasp her around her midsection and pull her into this portal that has suddenly just appeared from thin air. It looks like there is, as she's being pulled away, the faintest whisper of words upon her mouth that you can't make out, but you're not even able, unless one of you wants to roll a perception check.
I will.
Okay, Neska.
Please don't trust Jal with the perception roll.
Oh, hang on, that was just... Where's my perceptions?
13 for
Nope.
me.
Yeah. What'd you get?
13.
This is a 7.
7. Yeah, neither of you are able to see or make out, really. I was seeing if you could read her lips, maybe, but, not able to get a grasp of what she is trying to tell you as she is pulled from this location in space and time. You are standing together, but alone in this solitary street of Brecca, in what looks to be kind of an industrial portion of it, just on the border between, and I have the information right here, just looking at a map, between the Rainbow Crown and the Golden Crescent. The Golden Crescent being the area right off of the Demacia docks where you just came. And you are there, standing. It is still nighttime. You have just fought off assassins who seemed very intent on murdering Fatema Lux, this glorious, blazing inferno of a woman. And you see, just looking around, you see the destruction of these two very large buildings that were portions of which have been exploded entirely as they have collapsed together on top of each other due to the fact that during the battle, one of the lone assassins that was remaining exploded. Yanshu is lying on the ground, sort of like holding himself up by his elbow. He's sort of watched all of these things sort of transpire as you've just, in terms of Fatema disappearing, you all take stock and realize, or have realized, that Rihanna is gone. The person that you saved from the brink of death in Ashcaleen, who you believed to be an ally of yours, has vanished. And I'm going to ask Ivar, what thoughts are racing through your mind at this point?
Ivar, as per how he ended the conversation with Jal in the previous session, has asked Jal, go get my armor. So he's probably going to also join him.
Recover it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Ivar is staring at the wreckage. And there is a contrasting mix of emotions and that are rushing through him. On one end, the having seen Rihanna before she disappeared with that expression and realizing the depths of what may have unfolded is obviously giving him a sense of bitterness. And yet his heart is racing with the excitement of what it'll be to cleanse, or rather clear, the darkness that may exist in this new port, in this new place. And so he is, after that, after the armor is brought to him, he takes it and he slowly starts putting it on, very ceremoniously, eyes sort of distant, and he's just arming himself up.
As you place the armor and you start to pull at the bindings and straps that secure it to the various portions of your body, Ivar, I need you to give me an Arcana check.
Let's see how that goes. 13. Okay, it's a 13 kind of day.
13. As you adjust one of the greaves, it's not painful per se, but at the very center of your chest, you feel just a slight tug, almost like your heart is moving inside your chest cavity. Not painful, but it is a noticeable movement. And you feel like it's not normal. Never felt something like this, or at least you can't remember if you have. Jal, you have just recently retrieved the armor meant for Ivar. At this point, you begin to notice there are maybe a handful of individuals who are sort of like peeking out. You see a dragonborn child who's sort of looking out of one of the windows of their home. Can't tell if they've been watching you this entire time, but they've just noticed them. And you also see there's a human man who looks to be like he has a lantern and he's trying to get like a better view of you all. All of these people are well outside of 30 feet, but they are definitely there. Basically, people who have noticed the commotion and the explosions that have happened. Neska, we left you standing over, or maybe kneeling over Yanshu as you tended his wounds. What are some of the initial first impressions that Neska has of the city of Brekka?
She's extremely suspicious, extremely cautious. To have previously been told that this is a city that accepts anyone and everyone, but they had to prove who they were before entering, to then be forgotten once the Tiefling Guard recognized Rhiannon. Then people just attacking everyone else in the streets. She's on high alert.
Mm-hmm.
Most of her focus is on Yonshu to make sure that he's stable and able to move. But knowing that buildings have just collapsed and people are starting to come out, high anxiety and wants to get out of here.
Just to clarify, was I the only one of the party who saw Rihanna leave?
That's correct.
Yeah.
In fact, no amount of interrogating from Fatema could get you to divulge the information that you had seen.
As this scene is unfolding, the portal disappears, the rubble probably like shifts, people are slowly coming out, and there's just that moment where everybody's still recoiling from it, and that silence is eventually broken by Jal yelling, "What the f-" And then a title screen pops up saying "Survivors of Ashcaleen," and then we go into the
episode. Jump cut. Boom.
This is canon now.
Yep.
There's a bard who makes intro screens that is just ready to cast the spell right in front of people.
It's just minor illusion. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Which
you beat me to it. I was unmuting. Dang it.
Yeah, Jal does his own jump cuts with minor illusions. But yeah, after that outburst, he's just gonna look around and just be like, "What in the hell was all that? Where did you go?" And he points at Ivar.
I suppose the path led me to discover what comes next.
Can you not do that? Because when you do that, apparently we get blown up.
You're still alive. I'm sure you'll be fine.
I'm barely alive, sir. He's actually more than half his hit points, so he actually doesn't look that bad. But mentally, he's scarred.
Sir DM, I would say that probably when Ivar felt the thing in his heart, the first thing that he tried to think of, and I don't know if he has a way of or how he would feel it, is try to see if that is connected potentially to the quarry that he has sensed already and knows that seems to be dwelling within Brekka.
I'll say, give me a history check.
That's a nat one.
Yeah, this is the feeling and the tug of your heart. It is something that you very vaguely recollect, but you can't pinpoint exactly why. You know you felt it before, but it is a distant memory. And so much has happened between the time when this memory happened and now, and way too much way too much of your mind is still kind of gobbledygook from the effect of this nightmare creature and their wiles on you. So it's very difficult to remember why you know this. That being said, you do know that you just experienced it like maybe 24 hours ago. You had a conversation, a distant conversation with this voice, this dream spirit that was located within Brecca. And from what you remember, it is located within the Golden Crescent.
I suppose we better find a place to rest.
Yanshu sort of like gets up slowly, gets to his feet, and sort of like using you, Neska, as support, just says, I would really appreciate that. He sort of winces. You can definitely tell like his body is beat because he took the full force of that blast directly in like his face. I think it would be wise that we regroup and we gather ourselves. Surely there are taverns or inns that might be able to house us.
Yeah, maybe one in the Candles if we can manage it. Unless that's super far away, and he starts consulting the map.
Jal, you have your map that that Gata gave you. Sort of like looking at it. There's no distance measurement on the map to indicate like, oh, this many inches equals this many miles. But it doesn't, if everything is drawn to scale, it doesn't look like it should be too far. The only thing that's sort of like kind of worrying is like you don't know anything about this city. And all you know is from what Gata told you, that the Candles are outside of the city walls, and they are primarily the population that exists in that area are primarily tieflings.
Then that should make it easy to find a person who's furry.
Ivar is going to approach Yanshu, and he's going to put a hand on his chest, and it says, on your feet. We do not know what lies ahead, and I need you alert. And he's going to cast Lay on Hands, and he's going to give him 30 points of HP.
Okay. Yeah, that will get Yanshu all the way almost healed. You place your hand on him, and immediately your hand glows with that silvery light, and he takes your hand and he like puts his own hand over and just sort of winces for a second, and then he just suddenly breath fills his lungs, and his bruises and wounds they disappear. And he clasps you on the shoulders, Ivar, and he says, oh, okay. He looks at you, Neska. He says, this is why these are very good traveling companions, yes? Oh, and he sort of, oh, okay, he like cracks. Okay. I'm feeling much more myself. Thank you.
Neska's just going to look over at Ivar and give like an appreciative nod.
Ivar gives one in return.
So, Jal, where do you think you're the one with the map? Where do you think we should be going?
Well, the lead that we got from the fire lady talking on the phone with somebody who I believe their name was a number, but they just said that they were. Oops, I really didn't mean to say phone. Stone talking on the stone with somebody whose name was a number. They referred to them as a number. I don't know if there's a lot of these people and that they just had to number them for convenience. But yeah, they said that they're in the Candles, which she confirmed. So that's the best guess that we got. 6. That's the number. That's the one.
Neska, give me a history check.
Oh, come on. Math 3 + 8.
11.
There we go.
Yeah. there were some things that some bits of knowledge that Gata dropped. You do notice that there are many different merchant clans that exist within this city. You don't know who Six was, but Six, if that is their name, that is in reference to a Tabaxi clan that exists within this city. And so no conclusion, you can't draw like an exact conclusion from that, but it's like, could that person be a Tabaxi? Could Six actually be a member of this family or household?
I believe we're looking for a feline.
Oh, that
What?
would make sense because she did threaten to singe his fur, so
Yes.
that makes sense. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty solid lead. I mean, I'm no detective anymore, but yeah.
Ivar, give me another Arcana check.
That's a dirty 20.
A dirty 20. You take 2 points of psychic damage. You feel almost like your heart is a. Oh, go ahead.
I take 1 point.
Take 1 point of psychic damage. God damn it. I always forget who I'm fucking with. All right. So,
Ivar.
yes. You take 1 point of psychic damage. And there is this sharp pain that you once again feel within your heart as it feels like almost you're not having a heart attack, but it feels like just the beginning of one. And you feel like almost like you're like something is trying to reach into you and grab at you. Not a invasive force like trying to like pierce you in any way. Nothing Kalima. Not anything sinister, but it's like someone's trying to pull at your shirt, pull at the top portion of your armor.
The party probably would see that like Ivar is just, has adjusted his armor, looking around. He seems to be like about to take a step, and then he just seems to fumble for a moment, and he just fumbles and ends up in like a slowly arched position as he just
Yeah, right, old man.
What was
I'm not sure. Do I feel this pull in any direction particularly?
The first time, no. The second time, though, it is almost like somebody is trying to grab you by the front of your armor and sort of jerking you in a northerly direction. Not moving you in any way, but it's like this tug, sort of like adjusting you.
But Ivar, you guys see Ivar as he slowly brings himself back up. He adjusts his body, looking north. It's not clear where he's looking, but then he just starts walking with like.
Gal's gonna see this and just kind of go, hey, what? The candles are there. Oh, this guy. Not losing him again. He's gonna get blown up again.
So we're not going to the candles.
I don't know what we're doing.
What is happening with Ivar? What is going on?
I don't think Ivar knows.
Ivar, wait, hold on. I thought we were
Do what
in
he
pursuit
just
of-
called. He interrupts you as he's walking. Do what you must. If you go to the candles, I'll meet you there.
No.
You're not going anywhere alone. Shut your mouth. Let's go.
He's just not stopping. He's just following this feeling.
Okay, and Neska, we follow, I guess.
Watch him closely. And
Yes.
then can I do some cool stuff? Can I scale the wall, the closest building? And I want to follow. Like I won't go in front, but sort of
Your
stay.
Overwatch.
Yeah, I want to stay in pace with Ivar and have sort of like a bird's eye view, and make sure that no one's gonna come at us from any other alleys. Make sure that we're not being followed. Like, yeah, overwatching.
Sure. Give me an athletics check.
What acrobatics?
It's the bane of your existence.
2.
2. Initially, there isn't any really good, because if you remember when you guys were fighting, you guys got knocked, or one of two of you got knocked through some construction, that because one of the faces of the building was being re-mortared, and so there isn't really any good building, because some of them, the ones that are next to that building, are very low to the ground, so it wouldn't give you any real advantage. So you would have to go a little bit before you would be able to sort of find another building that you could scale. As you look around, though, a lot of these buildings, they seem, at least on this side, the eastern side of the street, look to be residential, whereas the ones on the western side of the street look to be a part of whatever, like industrial, or a part of this granary system, where they would be storing this foodstuffs that would be then distributed either to the docks or to the rest of the city. As you sort of look around, you do see also there is you see a half elf sort of peek out from one of the doors to the houses. So they're like townhouses. So they pop. This half elf looks to be, "Hey, keep it down out there. What is going on? What is with all the noise? What is with the racket?"
Poor construction. Stay inside.
Oh, give me an intimidation check.
Oh my god, where am I looking? Okay. Far out. 6.
I will give you to the count of 5 before I start to call for the city watch.
1, 2, 3, 4.
He immediately just starts to back into his house, and it shuts the door immediately in your face. Hey, sometimes you don't need to roll. And he just sort of backs down. Meanwhile, on the other side of the street, Jal, you see what looks to be an orc who just comes out of his shop, sort of looks around. "Hey, did you guys see what caused all the noise a second ago?"
Nope.
"Yeah, they're waking my brood up."
Oh, man.
I mean, they've been working on that building over there for like almost a month. Couldn't do it at, a more seasonable time of day.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to need to, it actually might be pushed back a little bit further.
Just my luck. And he walks back inside his house.
Well, good night.
I wanted to point out, I don't know if this will matter or not, but just in case we've forgotten, the armor that Ivar is wearing is a Red Guard armor.
Oh shit,
That's right,
yeah.
it is.
Just so you know, because he hasn't had it modified or anything, so it still looks like a Red Guard armor.
That's right. You tried to have it modified, but we weren't able to do it.
There were a lot of things happening.
Yeah.
In that dwarf city.
Yeah. So, as you guys begin to make your way north following Ivar, Neska, are you still intending to, once you find another building, to okay, give me a perception check real quick.
This was with a different dice. Thank God my perception's relatively. No, it's not. 9.
9.
9.
Well,
9.
9.
It does take you a second, because it like they're all residential homes, but eventually you do find a house. It takes you a little while, but you do find a house that gives you enough of a jump up so that you're able to get to a bigger building that is located right above it. It's a very tall domed structure that actually would give a decent vantage point of the streets below. And you'd be able to get sort of almost a 360-degree view of the space. Give me another athletics check.
That one's a 17.
17.
There we
Yeah,
go.
you jump onto this house, and You before you do it, Yanshu sort of nudges you, Jal. He's like, watch her do this. It's very impressive. She
Y'all probably can't see her because he's got a perception of +0. And she's
Neska,
stealthy as shit.
you immediately you jump up onto this one step that then you vault over to this ledge right off of this window, and then you using your core strength, you grab on and then you throw your legs back up over your head until you're on top of the roof of this one home. You parkour across the top of it, and then you immediately grab onto the equivalent of like almost a fire escape kind of. There's a ladder that goes along the top portion of this domed tower building, and you clamber up that, and then you immediately like jump up onto the dome itself till you're right at the top of this this ornate piece that's sort of like piercing directly into the dome, and you're able to sort of like grab a handhold and sort of you're looking down at the rest of the city. As you look around, you see that to your right, you see a very large gate and what looks to be a mixture of houses, but also tents that you see a lot of soldiers milling about. And even at night, it looks like they're moving in and out of this main gateway, which you, based off of the map that Jal has, that Gata gave them, or gave him, it is what is known as the Shadow Way. It is one of the gates of the city that is most used and the most lived around by the military that exists within the city. The people who, by the military, I mean, there's not necessarily a standing army that resides in Brecca, but they're kind of like the police force that exists. To your left, you are able to see very clearly the Demacia docks, and off out into the bay, you do see the very large city ship that is clearly visible, which you can now notice there's maybe one or two sloops that seem to be moving back and forth between the city ship and the docks themselves. Also, you realize that all around you is what is known as the area or neighborhood borough of the Golden Crescent. And for all intents and purposes, it is nighttime. It's about almost 9 p.m. at night. Everything's very quiet and still, save for the cacophony that was caused a moment ago with the explosion. But everything seems to be very still, calming down. Sort of the Midnight Citadel, it is very an odd looking building because it looks like it is this giant shard of obsidian that is piercing out of the ground. And it is completely like, it is a very foreign object compared to the rest of the landscape around it. It doesn't look like it belongs. But it looks like over time, as the population of Brecca was formed and the city was formed around it, it looks like portions of the Midnight Citadel have been hewn into, and like people have built rooms, or perhaps there is an interior of the Midnight Citadel. As you look around, you see past in the north, past the region that is known as the Golden Crescent, you do see what looks to be the neighborhood known as the Amethyst Worm. And you remember sort of Gata's warnings about portions of this city. You have to be very careful. The Amethyst Worm is where the majority of the merchant class is where they live. And what you know about the merchant classes, they are kind of the ruling bodies that exist within Brecca. Think, and I think I've said this before, think the Medicis or the Borgias in Italy, like sort of Italian city-states, subterfuge, a lot of skullduggery, backstabbing, assassination kind of vibe. Always these merchant clans and merchant families vying for supremacy within the city of Brecca. Thing of note, and this is something that Gata would have shared with you, the merchants, while they might be vying for supremacy and, they might have enemies in these other families and clans, a lot of the time they live right next to each other within the Amethyst Worm, but they will never, ever fight there. You could be living, they could see each other across the street. They will never fight within the Amethyst Storm. They will find other places to do it, whether it is on the high seas or other parts of the kingdom. They will hire exactly. You don't shit where you eat. And it's sort of a way of sort of keeping an even keel, a balance. Where a lot of the times these merchant clans will hire mercenaries, armies to go and fight proxy wars against other clans. And that's how they sort of keep the peace, even in the midst of a fraught wartime scenario. Beyond the region known as the Amethyst Worm, you see up over past the walls to the north of you, you see Sharktown. And it's sort of this wide urban sprawl that sort of stretches out from the walls itself. And then directly next to that, you see the Barrens. As you turn and you look south of you, though, off in the distance, past the southern walls, you see barely peeking out of these massive sand dunes, these almost look like the topmost portions of towers that sort of strike out from the sand. And you understand that, from what Gata told you, those are the candles. The candles being these, it is a name that was given them, but they were originally towers that this ancient group of arcane wizards used as a way where they would store knowledge and studied the arcane arts. And that is where they resided. This is possibly back around the same time that the Midnight Citadel was first found. Since then, whether by some ancient curse or by the passage of time, the desert sands have absorbed the towers until just the topmost portions of them are visible. And directly in front of them, you see the candles sort of laid out. All of this is within your ken as you gaze around your immediate vicinity and beyond. As far as you can tell, there doesn't seem to be anything immediately apparently dangerous to you or like a threat, which is a very big contrast to what just happened a few minutes ago, which is kind of comforting, which means that the assassins weren't here for you. They're not here because you just suddenly showed up in Brecca. They were definitely here for the Fire Lady.
If anyone's still watching or can see me, I'll give a hand signal to keep going and that the coast is clear so far.
You see Yanshu down on the ground, sort of walking in lockstep with Jal. Just sort of, he looks up, he makes the sign, nodding in the affirmative. She's right. She's right there. She's right there.
Oh, I said, no, wait, hang on. Oh, there. Okay, yeah, I got it.
Jeez, Jal, it's a wonder they're still alive.
I'm saying.
Meanwhile, Ivar, you've moved, you're moving, picking up pace now, as you're still feeling these periodic tugs in still in a northerly direction, but now sort of inclining towards the east, just ever so slightly.
A lot of noise around. Can you say the last part again?
You just feel the momentary, like, occasional tug as this force is pulling you ever so slightly north and just a tad east.
Okay. I'm gonna say right now Ivar is pretty much just following that tug. Like whenever there's a pause, he probably just have a moment where he's like slows down his speed just till he feels the next tug, and then he just keeps moving, like looking for whatever pathways are the easiest ones. He has some alertness to him just because of the encounter that they had before, but he's definitely currently just sort of single mind toward this pull.
Mm-hmm. Okay. for all intents and purposes, as you were following Neska, give me an acrobatics check this time, because you're up where you need to be, but now you're moving from the tops of buildings, so you're parkouring across these buildings.
23.
23. Look at that. Brilliant.
There we are.
So very much, if anyone has ever seen the film District B13, sort of parkouring all over the tops, or even just the beginning portion of Casino Royale. You are just moving very quickly over the tops of buildings, just making your way very expertly, finding your footing. Like, even though you've never been in this city before, it's uncanny just how well you place your feet and your hands to yank yourself up into very tight positions, but then also like scoot down and slide down these what you would consider to be like these water pipes that would bring water from the topmost portions of the buildings down into portions of the street or into some of the homes itself. Basically, ways to store rainwater when it happens. But you are moving very quickly, keeping an eye on Ivar beneath, and a couple steps behind them, Yanshu and wow, I nearly said War-Torn Knight. Yanshu and Jal. Ivar. As you have made your way almost to the edge of the Golden Crescent, just about to cross into the area known as the Shadow Way, suddenly the tugs stop, and you hear in your mind this tiny, small voice. You came. You're here. I thought I lost you there for a second. Not much time. This vessel is passing on.
Ivar immediately cast Divine Sense to see if he can
throw
improve.
it up for me in the Discord. Yep. It is not any of those things. It's not celestial, fiend, or undead.
Okay.
It is the voice that you recognize from before. It is the Quorai. And you get the sense that it is, at this point, within 60 feet of you.
Where are you? He's gonna try to keep it talking as he's just looking around. He's gonna look around to see if there are any particular spots that may hint either like a potential. He said vessel, so he's gonna look to see if there are any particular buildings around him that could, like, especially if they look like run down or anything like that, or any particular areas or alleys and things that he can use. Okay. I'm here. Tell me where you are.
As you say those words, one of the thoughts that suddenly makes itself very apparent in your mind, and it's something that you may have thought in the past, but it flashes before you. Wait, this voice, if it is a Quorai, that means that there is another Kalashtar, and this Kalashtar sounds like they're very weak. As you look around, you do eventually, after just centering yourself, and at this point everyone is sort of caught up in Neska, you see from your vantage point in the building, a very tall building directly above Ivar has stopped, and it is at the intersection of these four main streets. And as you, Ivar, as you look ahead, you see the street that you're on goes directly into the Shadow Way. And you see the tents of the soldiers and the different buildings and what looks to be barracks of some kind. But as you look around, you see sort of where the demarcation is between the Shadow Way, the neighborhood known as the Shadow Way, and the Golden Crescent. You look around and you see to your right, you see a door, a red door, that is faded. with a small rope handle in a small, looks to be a home of some kind, with a lone candle in this one window that is just burning brightly.
Ivar looks at the door and then moves real quickly toward the door. But he also, as soon as he gets to the door, he sort of pauses for a moment, just because the feeling of the gravity of what he may encounter and not wanting to disrupt. And is when he gets to the door, he reaches for the rope and very gently sort of opens it and walks in.
Hold on 1 second. As you enter, you're not knocking, you're just using the rope handle, you're entering the home. As you enter, Jal, you and Yanshu are right behind Ivar. You see him suddenly, very abruptly, turn to his right and just enter this home. Neska, you see the same thing from your vantage point. Ivar, as you enter, the home is very humble, nothing extravagant. There's a table, very much as you first enter, there is a table with 2 chairs in the first room with, some very, we'll say ornate carpeting, or carpets, but rugs that are on the ground. To your right, there is a separate room with what looks to be some kind of food preparation area, kind of like a kitchen, like pots hanging up from the ceiling. You do see beyond into as you make your move into the living quarters, that on either side there's a bedroom and a sitting area. The sitting area is the room that has the window with the candle sitting on the edge. And as you enter this space, you see, sitting in a rocking chair, an old man, much older than you. If that is possible. No, I'm just kidding. Much older than you. And you see, just by the illumination provided by the candle, he is blind.
Ivar gets to that threshold, sees the figure. May I approach?
Who's there?
My name is Ivar. Your quarry spoke to me and led me here.
Come closer.
Ivar approaches and kneels in front of him.
You see the old man sitting in the chair, just sort of sniff the air. Sort of a slight smile, smirk appears on their face. Please, tell your companions they may enter as well.
I'm gonna say if they're within view, or if they can hear, Ivar would just speak to them. It's all right to come in.
I mean, Jal would enter, but seeing the scene, he'd probably stand right by the door and just let whatever needs to happen.
Yanshu just looks at you, Jal, looks up at the building above and gestures to you, Neska, to come down.
Yep, I'll slow fall. Oh, before I do, give another glance around, make sure that we weren't followed or that the quarry hasn't somehow called out to anyone else. I know nothing. I'm just being real sus.
Give me a perception check.
10.
Yep. There does not appear to be any immediate threat in sight. It all looks to be very quiet. No furtive movements from the shadows, just it's nighttime.
Oh.
You hear sort of off in the distance sort of the hustle and bustle and maybe the slight clank of armor or the sound of horses or horses' camels from the barracks off in the shadow way. But at this time, it does not seem to be anything threatening.
Then I will slow fall from the building and quietly let myself in and close the door. And stay away. Like, I'll give them privacy and sort of stay in the kitchen area.
Give me your hand. He gestures to you, Ivar.
He looks at the hand and looks at the face, and then very respectfully and solemnly just places his hand upon him.
He takes your hand in his. He puts his other hand on top of it. Oh, very strong. A bit old, very strong. A warrior. You've seen things. You've felt loss.
More than a single man should bear.
What you have achieved. And he pauses, sort of trying to catch his breath. You've achieved victory over a shroud. And he inclines his head almost as if he's listening for something. And he bows his head, closes his eyes. Oh, don't worry. You'll get your chance to meet him soon enough. Yes. No, he's very handsome. And he sort of just keeps just patting your hand. And he grabs your wrist. Sort of pulls you slowly towards him. He sniffs the air. A human. Interesting companion. And I'm not familiar with this one's scent. Yes, these two. Oh, that's not a bad thing. I just have never smelled one such as you before. Yanshu just sort of like very gently puts his arm on the upper portion of Neska's back, and you feel just a slight pressure of a squeeze, like we are a new thing in this city. That means nobody knows what Yuan Ti really look like, unless they've been in the Peshium wildlands, which very few and far between people have.
I'll, in this moment, self-consciously cast prestidigitation on himself to try to make himself smell better.
Again, the old man inclines his head. Listen, I know. Okay, I'll ask him. What brings a fellow Kalashtar to a place such as Breka? I thought I was the only one.
And perhaps before today you were, dear elder. I came under a sense of duty, and I was deceived. And now it appears fate has led me here to reveal yet a greater purpose. There is darkness in this place. Darkness that I do not have the desire to let linger.
It sounds like you bear the burden of our race very well. Being able to feel the emotions and thoughts of those around you. It is a burden that we all bear of our race. You are not wrong about the darkness. It has been growing for some time, but I am too weak. My adventuring days are over. The spirit inside me is still very young, though. Much like a child. This Quorai could use a younger vessel. Sadly, that means that I will not be long for this world. And I'm okay with that. If you ever do make it back to the Dream Isles, simply ask those there that greet you if they had ever encountered Caherith of the House of Clevis. I am sure there are people there who still remember my name, the name of my family, but I think that it...
And he very slowly, it looks like he's almost going to incline his head once more. But then he suddenly grasps your hand tightly, Ivar, with a surprising amount of strength for an elder.
Ivar mutters under his breath. He casts Bless on him, his energy in his hand just flowing through. And along with that Bless, he'll give him the last 20 points of Lay on Hands that he has.
As you suddenly create this magical conduit from yourself into this elder, you feel the body of this old man suddenly feel empty. The breath itself gone. And in this moment where you are literally giving a portion of yourself, a portion of your life force into this other Kalashtar, you suddenly feel this surge of energy course through your arm, and suddenly you recognize the pulling of your heart. And suddenly your memory is restored. The first time that you felt this was when you first encountered the original Quorai that inhabited you. And you feel this surge of warmth and this embrace of dreams, of hope, of life just surging within you. And suddenly, from everyone else's perspective in the room, there is a glowing light that suddenly surges out from this old man, who suddenly his body just crumples in the rocking chair. And he has passed on. And suddenly this surge of almost golden, silvery light suddenly surges out of this old, aged person and suddenly is absorbed within Ivar. Ivar, you immediately hear this voice.
Oh, goody. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we're together now.
Kahareth, we've been through so much together. I can't wait to tell you more about him. He was a great man. And I'm sure that we'll be able to preserve a portion of his legacy. Although I am very much interested to hear your experience and more about your life. And how we might be able to share memories. You do keep very interesting company, though.
As soon as the blow comes into him and the memory, Ivar begins panting, and he's just, oh, oh, oh. He has spent so many years accompanied by a nightmare, deprived of what most Kalashtar know to be life with a spirit companion. And the unveiling of the feeling of how he used to feel suddenly hitting him like a ton of bricks is that moment of you have become so accustomed to the shadows that you didn't realize what life used to be before. And he's on one knee, hands still on the body of the old Kalashtar, and he hears the voice, and he just what is your name?
I haven't said my name in so long. I haven't need to. My name is... You can call me Vel.
There is much darkness in the memories that I carry. But I will try to honor Kahareth and you until I draw breath no longer.
There is what you can only imagine. You don't remember necessarily the previous Quorai ever doing this, but if a Quorai could sigh with relief.
Oh, good.
It's the sounds and the way the voice is talking, the way Vel is speaking right now, it sounds like somebody who has come to a really nice hotel after a really long journey, and as they enter the hotel, they see that the bed is all very nicely made. The temperature is perfect, and they enter and they begin to putter around inside you, inside your mind, inside the interior of your being, and they just start to comment.
Oh, well, we can dust this off. Oh, we can. This is. Oh, we'll put this over here.
And it's almost as if, Ivar, you didn't realize just how incredibly cluttered and dusty and just overcome with all of this clutter in your mind that is suddenly in this moment. It's like an episode of Hord'ns where they convince the person to get rid of all of the shit in the house. And it's just this, exactly. It's the most wholesome creature in the world suddenly going through and just organizing and puttering about, dusting things off. And suddenly your mind, and whether it's a combination, because it's sort of a weird combination of bits and pieces of Kahareth's memories. Suddenly you're just feeling just the reminders of where you come from and of the Dream Isles, and just pleasant experiences of being a child and being a part of a family and a clan, and the first time that you wielded a sword in practice. and the feeling and the weight of it. The first time you ever made a friend as a young Kalashtar, and the feeling, what that was like. And it's almost like as Vel is dusting things off, there, especially the friend portion of it, it's like as you're looking around at your companions, there is that feeling that is suddenly even more genuine, because how we feel about the people around us, it's informed by memories of what it felt like to first encounter a friend when you were a child or when you were a grown up, and what that feeling of relationship and connectedness is like. And it feels like home. And as you feel this tiny little creature just inside you, they just busybodying about. Their voice suddenly, you can hear just ever so softly,
I'll be busy about this for a little while. Please feel free to try not to do anything too dark, okay?
Ivar sort of mentally nods to Val. And he just takes a moment to look at Gahareth's body, looking at his face. Your last deed was saving one of our own. Thank you. And he's gonna look. He stands up, takes a moment to look at the group, and depending on how perceptive you are, I don't know necessarily that it would be too. You would require too much perception for it, but it's almost like there's a twinkle in Ivar's eye. There's like a sense of life that wasn't there before. Like it's almost as if you did it had this not happened, you wouldn't have noticed that Ivar was probably sickly. It's almost as if this is what he's supposed to look like or be perceived as, he probably was in a very bad state. And that applies both physically and spiritually. Ivar is going to actually try to tap mentally with Val, asking if there was any particular place that Gahareth liked and was his like favorite spot in the city, because he's
city of Brecca.
Yes.
Okay.
He's going to try to tap into the memories to see if Gahareth.
Give me a history check with advantage.
That's a 21.
21. Okay. Jal, you and Yanshu are sort of taking all of this in. Yanshu sort of nudges you. I'm sorry, did the old one just die? We just got here. What is going on? What has happened?
I don't know, but I feel like it's relevant to the plot.
It might further the plot or something. Maybe just talk to that guy.
Oh my god, that caught me so off guard.
I'm sorry, it's been
brilliant.
so intense, and I've just been like, I've had the thoughts of like all the jokes, like the old guy starts passing off, and I was just gonna be like, well, no, anyway, I started plastic, or the guy when the old man starts to pull Ivar in, I was like, roll initiative. Like I've been holding back so hard because it's a serious moment. And then he called me out, and I was just like, I can't help it.
What does Taliesin call that? Oh, he from Critical Role. Is this a fart in the elevator?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh Lord.
So yeah, Yanshu says this to you, Jal. Neska, you of course hear this as well. Yanshu looks at you, Ivar. Are you okay? Ivar, you don't even hear Yanshu say this to you. As your hand is very gently just touched the shoulder of Kahareth, and you feel sort of Val as they're pushing stuff off to the side and reorganizing the interior of your mind palace. There are flashes of bits of pieces, just different images that pass before your mind. There are definitely places that Kahareth felt safe. And the majority of places, and he hasn't felt safe for a very long time in this city. But there have been several places in the Rainbow Crown where, whether it was feelings of safety, but also just feelings of warmth and happy memories. And there are several different taverns and we'll say the odd bordello where Kahareth spent some time back when he was younger. But all of them seem to be centered within the Rainbow Crescent, or the Rainbow Crown, rather.
Oh. Do you think Herod would mind if we were to learn what he kept in this house so that we may use it for future purpose?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought that was clear. The home is yours. Yes, Kahareth's final wish was not only that you get me, but he's not doing anything with the house. So yes, the house is yours.
Indeed we do. Ivar has a moment to pause. Then he looks at the group. Before he looks at the group, he actually is going to go and he picks up Kahareth's body in his arms. And he turns to the group. This is Kahareth of the House of Kelvin.
Clevis.
What's the name?
Clevis.
Clevis. I love that my autocorrect wanted to change it to Kelvin. Okay. Of the House of Clevis, a warrior of my land. And he has just gifted us as his parting act this place. And he says it as he gestures toward the house. But before anything else, I need to grant him a proper burial. Will you join me?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Never attended a burial.
Yeah, it's not really our thing. We tend to just burn our dead.
Or leave them.
Yeah. I mean, you do you, man. You want to bury him? That's fine.
Do you have an idea where?
He's gonna.
So Vel immediately just,
Oh, yeah. If you'll, sorry, I don't want to do this. But I just know that I can.
you feel like just the slightest of like pushes in a certain direction as Ivar, you suddenly get this like pressure, almost like you feel almost like somebody is touching your back, sort of pushing you, and there's nobody there. The sensation is there. And you feel sort of propelled forward, and it's deeper into the house. And there looks to be, as you go deeper, there's a window that goes at the very back, but to the right of that window, there is a storage closet. And then to the left, it looks like there is a doorway that goes like almost like a patio. And then out into the patio, there is a fenced in, like almost like a stockade kind of fence that goes into, and you can see some of the other houses around this house have a similar setup, but it is almost, this is a garden space with a fountain in the center, but with like a U path that goes and connects back to this entryway that goes into the house. So it's a very small garden home. And the fountain in the center is just a very simple fountain with like a basin at the bottom. And then it has this little thing that just keeps pumping the water cyclically in through this through the reservoir and then up and out.
Would there have been an established lore on whether a burial for a Kalashtar or warrior would have been more back to the soil or flames, like a pyre?
So, hold on one second. Okay. So, in terms of Kalashtar burial rites, it is obviously there are certain portions of Kalashtar burials which cannot be accomplished because of where you are. It is a long process by which the body is returned to the earth, because the earth and the ground beneath it, that is where, I mean, in terms of magical ley lines, that's where magic is coming from. And so it is the desire of every Kalashtar to be returned to whole, hopefully, to the ground, at least in terms of the body, so that the body may reabsorb within the earth. The Quori itself, the Quori is always looking, spirit is always looking to enter into a new host, because that is how memories and dreams are preserved. And is essentially what has happened here. So in terms of the burial rites, as far as Vel is concerned, that job has been completed. All that is left to do is to bury or allow the body of Cahareth of Clevis to be reabsorbed into the earth. Ideally, every Kalashtar would love to be buried in the Dream Isles. That sadly cannot happen.
So this is the thought that is going through Ivar, because he sensed that it's been a long time since Cahareth felt safe in this place. His mind is considering him, giving him a pyre warrior funeral, and then taking his ashes and keeping them with him so that he may one day return his ashes to the Dream Isles, rather than to put him down in the soil of a place that made him feel so unsafe, especially a place that he believes has so much darkness in it.
Hold on one second.
Now, commercials. Have you ever thought about building a base right by the Shadow Way?
I have. Oh boy, mister.
Oh.
Okay, so did you share this with the group, Ivar?
No, not yet.
So Jal would straight ask you I mean, I don't know if there are any customs to follow or anything that we could do. I mean, do we just get him a grave here, or let's see what's the option for him? I mean, this is incredibly generous of somebody that didn't even know us.
For us, the Kalashtar, we long to return to the earth once our time arrives. Nevertheless, I can feel how unsafe this place made him feel. And while I cannot take him as he is now back to the Dream Isles, I shall grant him a warrior's pyre, and his ashes will accompany me until the time comes for me to return him back home.
What does Neska think about all of this in terms of this quarry, in terms of the funeral rites, in terms of this new Ivar?
Curiosity is probably the strongest emotion that she's experiencing right now. So she's sort of unsure as to why do these people care about the dead? Like, to she's not, this isn't me being insensitive, but like, to the Yuan Ti, the dead is now either meat or no longer of use. So you either find a use for it or you leave it. They don't have burial rites. Like, if you are not strong enough to survive to continue the missions of the Yuan Ti, then you are not part of the Yuan Ti. They leave theirs behind. So wanting to follow the rites and take the Kalashtar ashes to the Dream Isles is just confusing to her. It's something new. She's interested and is just observing with a look of wonder across her face. Like, why go to all this trouble? And what the hell has happened to Ivar? Like, you're suddenly glowing.
So, with hearing that, Jal being a red guard definitely gets the idea of the significance of, wanting to take care of things from a warrior standpoint. And he had a home of Ashcaleen. He knows that, things of a cultural nature, you Ashcaleen had, if I remember, it was predominantly human, but it had a little bit of everybody.
Yeah.
So the following of people's customs, regardless of where they're from, would be something that makes a lot of sense for him. So Jal would nod, listening to Ivar, and he'll just say, I mean, you can lay him to rest, but I can carry him there if you'd like.
Carry him?
I mean, I can make a nice spot for him until we get him where he's got to go.
You see, I ever look at the ring and have that moment of like realization. Would he be preserved?
Me trying to figure that out for sure, but I also we'll see here. Let's see.
I mean, if not, I'm okay with like saying that Ivar does an embalming.
I believe
It
it's
doesn't say.
it's like a pocket dimension though. It's not like
it is
it
an extra
doesn't time
dimension.
yeah, it's extra dimensional space. It's not a place where time flows the same way it does outside of it.
But regardless, like, we could figure something out.
I would be very grateful.
So, and if you'll allow me some creative liberty here.
Sure.
Jal will. Where is the body at the moment?
Joel, Ivar has it in his arms.
The emerald green arcane energy comes from the ring as he passes his hand in front of Ivar, making a floating almost like 3 feet in the air. Basic, like almost like a stretcher or just some sort of bedding type area for you to lay him down.
Ivar respectfully and gently places him down, puts his arms together, just sort of adjusts him very neatly. And he's going to use Val as his memory conduit to try to tap into whatever precious item or items he would have had in the house so that he may take them and just put them on that stretcher on him to basically give him a send off with the things that meant a lot to him.
As you reach out to Vel, Vel immediately stops what they're doing and suddenly memories pass before your eyes of Kahareth. And memories of the last several days prior to you arriving in Brecca. And it appears that with each passing day that you got closer to Suristir, to the city of Brecca, Kahareth was preparing himself for your arrival and had very neatly, in a very large trunk at the foot of his bed, had placed all of his possessions. And among those possessions was a ring that belonged, that was basically had the seal of his house, a suit of armor that kind of dusty and definitely has seen better days, but armor nonetheless, that belonged to, it was basically something that marked him as a warrior of the House of Clevis. There were several books of poetry that were Kalashtar in nature, written by some of the famous poets of Dashte in the Dream Isles. And there were just some odds and ends and knickknacks, just pieces, things that are very unique to Kahareth's memories. It's things that would anchor him to the Dream Isles themselves in case his memories got jumbled or faded in some way. Those are the impressions that Vel leaves you with.
The group would probably see that once he places him down on the green stretcher, he just, one moment, and you guys see him walk very knowingly through the house, making his way to the bedroom, and then emerging with this chest that then he just places on the ground by where Kahareth is, opening it, taking the ring. He puts the ring back in his hand. He's just sort of adorned, like the little knickknacks and stuff. He just puts them around his body. And then closing the chest, he just puts the chest next to, underneath the stretcher. And he sort of gestures to Jal to let him know that the chest also, he wants it to go with him.
So,
and he just gives him a nod, like a thankful nod.
basically, same deal. Uses the energy to lift the chest and basically put it right at the feet, and all in one go from the edges of the stretcher, sides come up and over the top to enclose it, and he does his best to make the lid a what's the term? Sort of try to give an impression of the person that is within in their prime, making a very elaborate coffin or even sarcophagus. And once he has it complete, he puts the hand that has the ring on it over top of it and then gestures to everybody, to come closer. Because I can do this now that we're level 10.
Yanshu comes closer.
I mean, I'm there.
Neska. You sort of
Mm.
Yanshu just sort of gestures towards Neska. Come closer.
I do so.
Once everybody is close, Jal will give a nod, and everybody will be transported into Jal's ring, where you see a very nice space that naturally everything is a shade of green. You had to guess that, but it is a 20-foot radius room with a lot of places to sit. There's like a couple knickknacks here and there. It's very tidy and very comfortable. But once inside, he lets the coffin float to one side of it where a space is cleared very ceremoniously, and that green energy basically connecting to the wall and basically putting up a little shrine around him.
What is Ivar's impression?
He's watching all of this, moved, and there's sorrow in his face, because as he is watching this, he's thinking about the hundreds of soldiers that he deprived of a proper burial when the nightmare took over. However, for the first time in a long time, his memory, now clear, allows him to remember a Kalashtar saying that it's done for burials and for ceremonies. And so, as all of this is happening, he recites, "We do not sleep, for we are always dreaming. We never fall, lest we may risk to wake. We never end, for we are all a memory. We're never lost, for we are never alone."
Neska. Hearing these words and knowing everything about emotions that you've learned in the space of however long you've been on that dwarven city ship, what are your impressions? Knowing also what you know about Yuan-Ti burial rites, or really the lack thereof, what are your thoughts about this rite of passage, which is basically what it is?
She's really touched that humanity is able to care for their departed. And there's a hint of envy. She's had comrades that have fallen in the past, or that, have been caught. And she's like, okay, peace. But that doesn't mean that she was, now looking back, that she was happy or comfortable with those situations, that they were caught. If I had have, stayed around for a couple more days, maybe I could have helped them. But no. So she's now questioning everything that she knows about herself and her own culture. And she's very uncomfortable in herself. She thinks that what's happening inside Jal's ring and what Ivar has done, what Jal has done, is absolutely beautiful. But she's now realizing how dark and literally emotionless her people are. she's got that inner turmoil going on right now.
With all of this sort of racing through Neska's mind and these feelings of just a lot of memories, because there have been, not even counting the ones that you, for all intents and purposes, you pretty safe to say perished at Ashcaleen. There have been many different missions that you've been on where you didn't even get to say goodbye to anyone. Like, you guys, not even that they died, you worked a job. It was the last time you saw them, and you haven't seen them since. And you may have gotten reports like months later that they met an end on a different job entirely. And it's a very disquieting thought that there's no concept of last rites at all in UNT culture. As you said before, it is very much sort of you're born into misery, you live through misery, you end in misery, and we're all just meat. And there is something more. There has to be something more in all of this. As these words are spoken by Ivar, Vel is still. The puttering is done. Vel is still. You feel like, for a brief moment, that they are echoing the words that you've spoken, but almost in a way where Kahareth, like they're saying it through another memory of Kahareth, because Kahareth possibly at one time said these words, as it is a part of this funeral rite that is being performed. You hear the tiny voice of Vel inside your mind, Ivar.
Well, this is very convenient. Master Kahareth will be able to be brought back to the Dream Isles, and I might see other people of my kind and you of yours, and this Jarl, he's a handy fellow.
Quite resourceful, but do not tell him that.
Oh, no. Wouldn't dream of it.
But yes, Val, I shall see to it that you and I get to see our home one day.
Unless anyone has anything more that they wish to say, we can say that this funeral rite ends, and everyone is once again outside of the ring. Jal, your ring, because everyone was in it, you pick the ring up off of the ground, place it on your hand again. At this point, it is about 1 a.m. And everything is still, the stillness is quiet. The candle has gone out at this point. And everything is still. It's eerily quiet. Like, Harith, for all of his, being old and everything, like, there was still a lot of life and, noise that he would make. But in this moment, the home is still. And you see that there is a fully stocked pantry, as if he was leaving the home in anticipation of there being visitors who would take over, new owners. The rest of the morning, depending on what you want to do, we can go to sleep, take a rest, or we can. Okay, I'm seeing nods.
Take a rest.
I think we're probably, yeah.
I have no more spell slots, and I've used a lot of my other resources.
Okay, there is.
I have no key points.
There is one bed, there is the rocking chair, and then there is a very what looks to be a soft, mossy part of the garden. The garden is very peaceful, just some very lush plant life that looks like it's been very well taken care of over the years. I guess Kareth had somewhat of a green thumb.
I'm going to say Ivar is probably going to allow, like, he's not going to get the rest right away with the rest of them. He's gonna let them go first, and he basically takes a moment before he goes to rest to anything that maybe wasn't tidy up after, you know, Kahareth was too tired or just not able. He probably will give like a last bit of a cleaning. We will spend a little bit of that night sort of like tidying up the house even more, just out of a sense of duty and respect before going to sleep. And if allowed, come the next morning, he would probably tap into Geharret's memories to see if there was a particular morning drink, like a tea or something that he liked to make. And he would actually just tap into that memory to do the process and prep it for the whole party.
Okay. How do the rest of you rest for the rest of the evening?
Is it warm? Like, is the night still relatively comfortable and warm?
This is going to be a personal question. What are nights in Australia like? I'm imagining it's a much warmer climate usually. So it's not something that is it is cool at nighttime, but not in a way that it's like cold.
I would say if there's
so
a fireplace too, like most likely Ivor would have started it if there was a fireplace in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I was imagining if we're being so close to the desert, nights could get quite cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Then never mind. Neska will prepare a meal for everyone. It's been a while since I've eaten, especially since I've been in Brecca. She's just lost in her own thoughts. And then, given that it is a cooler environment, she's going to seek out the warmth of the fire.
Give me a performance check.
Okay.
How edible is the meal?
I mean,
can I offer
charisma determines food cooking. Oh,
it's a natural 20.
Never
Oh,
mind.
okay.
All those low rolls paid off, baby. So 22.
Okay, awesome. So you, Neska, you immediately go over to the pantry. You take stock of the larder, and you just go in, and there's this lovely cordial that you were able to pull, like a raspberry cordial that you're able to pull out. It looks like it's very sort of, none of it looks similar to foodstuffs that you have in the Peshium wildlands, but there's enough there where you're just like, oh, well, it's kind of like this. You have your own spices in the Peshium wildlands that are native to that area, that part of the world. Obviously, Brecca is very different, but it looks like, despite being an elderly fellow, Kahareth was able to accumulate a decent amount of spice in his life. So you're able to sort of cobble all of this stuff together, and you do see that there is a very in a cooler under like with a block of ice underneath it. There sits on a slab this large piece of some kind of animal. It looks very similar to some kind of beef that you're able to sort of like chop up into like cubes of meat, and you're able to put it into a pot, and then you're able, with spice and water, and you're able to form some kind of a broth, and then you're able to turn it into this very hearty meat stew, and the aroma just sort of fills the house. And it is just all of these leeks and vegetables and potatoes and all of this stuff that Kahareth had left for everyone, as almost as if he knew that somebody was going to be able to make his home feel like a home. And that is exactly what Neska does. And it's like kicking the tires almost. Like, this is a skill that you have as a monk, that you haven't had the opportunity to use because you've been on assignment for so long, and you made do with whatever foodstuffs you had around you because you had to be very quick on your feet and able to move at a moment's notice. But that's not the case here. Neska feels secure. She has her friends. There doesn't appear to be any danger, which she can very much attest to based off of her reconnaissance. And she makes this food in relative peace and is able to fully focus on making it the most flavorful meal she's ever made. And as the aroma sort of fills the space, fills the house, Jal, like, your salivary glands just kick in. And it's like you guys haven't had a good meal. Like, because you had sort of like the dwarven foodstuffs, like the fruits and the different charcuterie, etc. But it was never like a really good. No one was in your apartment like cooking you a really great home cooked meal. It was always sort of like, okay, this is what they're bringing. It's like room service. It's not that great. This is like seriously the best meal you've had in a long time. As Neska is making this meal, Ivar, I need you to give me a performance check.
As you dance.
That is a 13.
After a very cursory inspection of the pantry, you're able to find various old, preserved, hydrated leaves that you're able to, and pieces of plants that are obviously collected for the making of tea. And you're able to crush all of these into a type of poultice that would, once hot water is applied, and you're able to boil this water. And you and Ivar and Neska are both sort of working sort of side by side in the food preparation space. And Ivar, you are making this tea.
Can I get advantage since I'm tapping into how Kahareth would have made it? Like, it's kind of like I'm reading a recipe, but even more than that, I'm literally like trying to tap into the memory of Kahareth to basically recreate it.
I'll say for this moment, yeah, sure. You can go ahead and give me another roll.
Okay, 14.
Okay. Yeah. After a period, you and Neska side by side making tea, making food. Jal, you're sort of just bearing witness to all of this as you and Yanshu is in the meantime has put himself into the rocking chair. And Neska, very briefly, as you're making the food, you just see his shoulders just relax. And you realize that for whatever reason, you've never actually seen Yanshu as relaxed as he is in this moment. And it's like a weight has been lifted from his shoulders. And whether it's just the smell of a home-cooked meal or the potency of the tea that is being made, he looks, dare I say, happy in this moment. As you finish preparing the meal, their place settings are put out. And we'll say at 2 a.m, you all sit down to a meal.
Just like me in real life.
And you all consume this incredible, hearty stew that has been created by Neska. And you top it off with just this very aromatic, pleasant tea that is made by Ivar. Sort of like the perfect little palate cleanser that sort of finishes the nice meal that has been created for you all. As the meal reaches completion, what do all of you wish to do? Spend your, I'm assuming, long rest?
Yeah.
Yanshu finishes the meal, goes over to the water trough and begins to wash his dish, cleans it, dries it, puts it away. You see him just sort of sigh. Well, this is a very nice home that you have acquired, Ivar.
Gareth was kind enough.
So what do we do next?
We prepare. There is something I must share with you all. And Ivar has a pause before he explains. During the battle yesterday, as we were fending off those ruffians, I followed one, sought to fight it, and I saw Rihanna. Only she was not in peril, but instead, she smiled, a dark smile. She stood next to someone, and then they disappeared through a portal.
Like the same portal that Fatema went through, or a different portal?
Different. It appeared as though the events that were occurring with Fatima and ourselves were not a surprise. Neither they were bothersome for them. I am afraid what drove us here and the person we brought here was not who we thought they were.
Are you saying we were played?
That is what it
Yes.
certainly sounds like.
I will skin that little liar and flay her flesh for a new mask.
I am actually surprised, but I am 100% in agreement with Neska. I feel like we've
Always
been
like-
used.
I was thinking about the repercussions of all this, and when Neska says that, he just kind of like snaps out of it and gives her a look like, what?
You
Hold on.
remember. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I forget real quick. I don't know what happened to my brooch. I just know that it was lost at sea.
No, the nightmare creature, you thought it was lost at sea. Yanshu even said possibly it was lost at sea. But, or in the as you guys were trying to, survive during the storm. But if you remember, the nightmare creature says that the people that he controls have very sticky fingers.
That's right.
And when he said that, he motions to Rihanna. And so it's fairly safe to assume that what he was referring to is the fact that he used Rihanna to get rid of your brooch.
She exposed us to the dwarves. She's endangered all of us. And we were blind to see it.
Why the charade? Like, I understand this shadow creature, this nightmare was in play and was influencing everyone, but why bring us here? Why leave us in this way if all that she has wanted she has achieved? Why
why not bring us along? Surely there must be some reward for her safe return.
He was as much a victim of Mr. Spooky Pants as Ivar was. Her whole thing was that she was in a position to do something for her family in Ashcaleen, and when the city went to shit, she needed a way home. And here come three capable people who can't say no to a pretty face. Well, two capable people and one person who can't say no to a pretty face.
I'm sorry, what? Who is
Yeah, you're right. Three capable people and one person who can't say no to a pretty face.
Regardless, at first I thought, as I was able to see, that the darkness I carried had affected her. And so I thought once it had been vanquished, that we were safe. Yet as I saw her disappear through that portal, I understood that her true intent was always hidden. And whatever her family may be doing here, which I believe may be connected to those we encountered yesterday, she might be a part of it too.
How does that connect with the Fire Lady? Like, why? Because it seems, based off of what you are saying, that this person and Rihanna are somehow connected with these assassin figures that we dealt with last night, and they're intent upon the Fire Lady's life.
Well, we don't know that part, but what we
Don't
do
we?
know is, we don't know the how of the why they want Fatema, but at the very least, Gata told us that this place is kind of run by these families, and Rihanna was trying to get back to her family. She actually played the family name card at the docks with Mr. Cooper, and just kind of said, "Oh yeah, I'm a Nightmare," and it kind of worked. So I guess her family's got some pull. So we're running into a familial problem. If there's some sort of bad news crime family, then, well, I don't know again why they would want to extinguish Fatima Lux's flame, but
Fatima did say she was famous.
well, yeah, but I've never heard of her.
Me neither.
Then perhaps she is famous in circles we do not know.
It's possible. I mean, to be fair, uh, we. I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak for you, Neska. I, uh, up until very recently, I had not very traveled much further north than Ashcaleen. Knew very little about the rest of this world. In fact, I don't believe one of my people has ever made it as far as Siristir.
Well, regardless, they wanted Fatima dead. We interrupted that. Fatima or Rihanna is gone, and then Fatima was gone. We know at least where Fatima's friends are, or friend, one of them, or six of them. I don't know how it works, but we'll figure it out.
So it appears that now comes the next step of choices. We came here with an intent to deliver someone, and we did, even if we were played. And now a new path unfolds before us. I cannot ask you what is it you desire to do now that we have arrived, but I am only beginning to prepare. to make sure that I find out what is happening in this city and ensure that whatever darkness may dwell here is put to a stop. And you see he pauses for a moment. I would like you all by my side.
Neska is taken a little bit aback that her presence is wanted. Fame does not necessarily have to be linked to a face. It can be a reputation. She looks to Yonshu. We have a reputation of being blades in the dark.
Indeed.
So I will stand by your side.
Yanshu thinks about the fact that Neska, in this moment, has legitimately chosen a side. And it is not the side of what culturally would be acceptable by any Yuan T. It is something where she has chosen to, instead of severing ties or being dispassionate or being completely focused on making sure that they're able to walk away from any situation, no matter how close. They have done the opposite in this scenario. And Yanshu just feels something stir within himself, and he just reaches across the table and he puts his hand on Neska, and he looks at Ivar and says, "That counts for me as well."
To fight the dark, you need to know how the dark works.
Aye.
And I have walked close to it for many years, but no more.
Let us handle that.
I'm sure you will.
You just keep being the light that you are now. What say you, Jal?
Jal actually looks very conflicted. And hearing his name, he kind of like snaps out of it for a moment. He just, I need a moment. And then he walks outside.
Did we say something wrong?
I think that Jal is just going through something right now.
He asked for a moment. Let's let him have it. Ivar is going to speak to Val in his head, and he's just going to say to Val, I know that you have seen where I've come from, the things that I've done, and you know what I intend to do. I am not a blade that is held with kindness, even outside the dark. The oaths that I shall execute will not be ones to be considered peaceful. And I just need to know that you will be all right as we move forward upon this.
There is a silence. And then Vel's voice comes from the darkness of your mind.
Aerith always said there are two ways to be a hero. One is being able to stand up, even if you stand alone. The second is getting up again and again and again, no matter how far you've fallen. You get up. You do what you need to do. I'll be here for you. I'll be a light. I'll be a reminder that you are not this dark thing. That is a past, Ivar. You will be okay. We will be okay.
Are you ready to go into battle with me?
There's this feeling and a sound of like something stretching, almost like somebody like after they've been sitting for a long period of time, or someone who's stretching like after they've slept. Oh, just shaking the dust off. This is going to be fun.
Yes, it will. We have discovered there is more darkness. We have survived it. And now we understand that in order to defeat it, we must conquer it. And with your permission, Sir DM, I'm going to swap Ivar's Oathbreaker to an Oath of Conquest.
Please do so. I did see the message.
Smash.
I just said, oh God. I was about to say, I saw the message you just sent, Jal.
Huh?
Got a conquest for
Conquer
you right
me,
here.
Daddy.
I mean, that was loud. I'm sorry.
On your knees.
Oh God.
Another bottle of
Oh,
water.
you rolled a 3? You try to get on your knees.
Yeah. Oh God, that is such a great skit. I love that skit so much. I was thinking more of Fleabag, the priest, hot priest from Fleabag. Kneel.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. While that conversation is taking place, it's happening as you take sips of your tea, Ivar. And you feel sort of just generally just very encouraged by the fact that very much against type, these Yuan Ti are going to stand with you and see whatever happens through to an end, no matter what. Jal, as you step outside, are you stepping outside into the street or into the garden area?
The garden area.
Okay. You step back out into the garden area. At this point, it's about 3 a.m. Oh yeah, you guys haven't taken your long rest yet. You're just, you're just like, we were hungry. You step into the garden area. And what are the thoughts that Jal is pondering now?
So this evening, as we were going through the entombment of this old man we just met and coming to the idea, the consensus that we were going to bring him to his home, the Dream Isles, and how with his passing he had gifted Ivar this entire place, this place that is now his home. And when we went inside, Jal was helping cook if needed in spots, helping Ivar clean, making sure that Yanshu had what he needed. We know that Yanshu, even though he's very jovial right now, he does have a gaping wound in his side. But as the night was going on, Jal got less quippy, less sarcastic, until pretty much during the meal, he pretty much only spoke up to tell Neska how good it was. Pivoting to this conversation where Jal kind of focused in on, and then being asked to go with Ivar for this mission, which verbatim is stopping crime in Gotham City, if I may. And it is very difficult in this moment for Jal to think about going somewhere or doing anything like this when he just had 2 or 3 hours of home when his home doesn't exist anymore. So Jal takes a seat in the garden after having this brilliant home-cooked meal, and after a funeral, which the last funeral he had attended was of his mother, which wasn't tragic, it was just her time. But it's in this moment that Jal sits and uses minor illusion to basically play a memory of his parents cooking food in the kitchen. And I don't know how long Jal will stay out there.
I would say that if allowed, at some point, Ivar would probably attempt to join him.
The player says you're allowed. Jal doesn't even really notice that somebody has come outside. And there's just this scene of this older human couple moving around a table and a sink and a stove. There's no sound, it's just this green light and the figures can be made out.
Ivar spots the image and sees it, but feeling as though it's not for him to see, he just looks out in the distance as he sort of stands to the side in the garden.
You have never been afraid to speak your mind. Do not stop now.
The best meal that I've had probably in years.
I agree.
Probably since what they're making right now, as he gestures to the image.
Parents?
They've been gone for a while. It's just afterwards I got a promotion in the Red Guard, working a lot. I never did the whole home thing, the idea of like, cooking or anything. It was always just, well, I have some coin, let's go to the tavern. Which is fine. It just never seemed like I had time to sit.
Mm.
We had time tonight. And we did. And there was no treasonous plot. There were no nightmares. There were no monsters at the bottom of the ocean. There were no blood-sucking parasites roaming the streets. And home wasn't a green flash across the ocean. Home was a bowl of stew. And it's at that point that the image disappears and he turns his head and looks over at you. We could just sit down. I mean, we can get regular people jobs and live regular people lives. Oh, we already have the hard part done. There's a home right here.
Ivar Just a slight smile.
It does sound nice. The idea of peace and a home. You know, the quarry spirit that dwelled within Kaheret, the one that now dwells within me, they sort of happen. We do not get to choose them. They just happen to be part of who we are. If you wish to stay here, Jarl, to lay down your weapons, to hang up your armor, to look for tranquility, the house is yours. But whatever choice you make it fully. You say we could get regular jobs, but I'm afraid I cannot. There is too much that I have done that I cannot undo. And my choice is to believe that my peace will come when I no longer walk these realms and draw breath. But that does not need to be your choice if you do not wish it. And I will never think lesser of you, for you have proven yourself time and time again. And I owe you much.
He kind of looks up at you. Can't help but smirk a little. He goes, "Don't worry, I won't tell anybody you're being nice to me."
You do not need to answer now. We can take the time to enjoy as much as we can of this moment. I asked you to join me, but I will always want you to make the choice that honors yourself first. For I cannot have anyone walk back into the battlefield with me with hesitation.
Jal just stays quiet.
Ivar just pats his shoulder and then walks back into the house.
While that is happening, what is Neska doing during that interaction?
She will have set herself by the fire, knees tucked up to her chest, arms wrapped around her legs, just staring at the door. She doesn't look at Yonshu, but just murmurs into her knees, "Did I say something wrong?"
She's saying that loud enough so that Yanshu hears it.
Yeah. Did I ruin a good thing?
I do not think so. I think you made a good thing. I think if you are honest with yourself right now, you make a lot of good things. This was a very good thing. Not to trying to be, that wasn't even a joke. That wasn't human. That was just true. That was, yeah. I think that I were to guess, I think Jarl was probably just moved. I can't claim to know his mind, but in terms of what we know of him, his home is gone. Which is something that even in our sort of wandering states is not true of us. We still technically have home we can go home to. Though it's not really a place we want to be. No, if I'm being honest, it would probably really suck if we went back home right now. It would just... It sort of peters off. He notices that you're looking at the door. He's like, Neska, I think that you're okay. I don't think that Joel was feeling any kind of way about what you had done. I think you did a good thing. I think he's just mulling over the ask that Ivar made. The unspoken ask, really.
She'll finally lift her head enough and sort of just go like that to look over at Yonshu. And what about yourself? I saw you. I saw the way you relaxed. The way you tried to hide a smile. And then I promised violence in a peaceful moment and dragged you into it. I did not give you the courtesy of mulling over it.
I don't think it would have been like you if you had. I do not mean that in an offensive way. I think you were in the moment. You were standing with an ally. Even though friendship is not really an idea that we cling to as members of our race, but it is a feeling we are getting very familiar with as we continue with this group of individuals. Almost as if by accident, we are our own race. We are our own group. Our own family? Sounds weird to say.
That might be a bit strong.
Yeah, right. It was too strong. Too strong.
That
doesn't necessarily feel right. I mean, every family that I've ever... My family back home. My lord. Yes, this is very different. I don't know. I think I feel safe here. I don't feel like we're hunted. I don't feel like we are in danger, except in the sense that we can choose for the first time what battlefield we want to fight on. In the past, the battlefields were always chosen for us. What do you think?
I think, for the first time in my life, I'm scared.
Of what?
Of losing what I have now found. I have begun to understand friendship. I know the idea behind every emotion. Anger, drives people, as does jealousy. I can mimic those. But I never experienced them. Happiness, pleasure, safety, a sense of belonging. It has all been, she'll wave her hand and summon her dragon-like skull mask. It has all been an act. Dismiss it. But with Joel, he makes me laugh. Ivar has a contagious sense of pride.
I'm sorry. So sorry.
Sorry.
Yep. You give me a sense of comfort.
I can't imagine how I managed to do that. Can I share something with you?
Please.
It is just a memory. It is the first time I saw you. Was you remember the training course that they make all the young recruits go through, and I remember seeing you teaching these young recruits just how to move through an environment stealthily, and I remember watching you do this and thinking, this one is very capable. This one is not afraid of anything. And you always seem to display a sense of confidence about yourself that I had never really encountered before. And it was something that I felt incredibly... When I found out that we had an assignment together, it was something that I felt a sense of comfort. And it is so interesting that you're saying that about me. I have no desire to go home. But I am very appreciative that... I wasn't going to say anything, but the stew that you made had elements of the home that we come from. And I was able to just sit in the moment and enjoy memories of a simpler time. Honestly, like, what did you put in that stew? Because I just... It was magical.
The small red scales that fleck her cheekbones sort of brighten a little bit. I'm not familiar with half of what was in that kitchen. But I'm glad I didn't poison everybody.
I know, it's such a fine line that we walk. Do we please people with our cooking, or do we just murder everyone?
That is finally our choice to make.
Yanshu, who has just been leaning up against a wall during this time, just having this conversation, just sits down by the fire, does that thing where when you first like put your back to a fire, suddenly it's like this weird sort of almost shiver as you just feel the warmth and the heat. And he sits next to you, and he, if you'll allow, he just puts his arm around your shoulder and just holds you right there.
I shift my weight to lean into him.
And that is where we're going to take a break. As we come back, you are exhausted.
That's fair.
Both of you, Yanshu and Neska, are wiped. whether it's because of the extreme circumstances that drove you from the Dwarven city ship, or it's the nighttime battle in the city of Brekka. Slumber finds you in this interesting position. You have placed your head on Yanshu's shoulder as he has his arm around you, just sort of like, just lightly hugging you, just very securely. And the two of you, not intentionally, just completely fall asleep with his head, like your head is like on his shoulder, his head is on your head, and everybody just conks out. Ivar, Jal, you both come in to see the two of them just sort of leaning up against each other in front of the fire.
Yeah, I would stay the night outside.
He's going to stay the night outside. Ivar?
Ivar is probably going to fall asleep in the rocking chair because he's probably going to attempt to sort of tap into any moments of either sage wisdom imparted to to Gahareth, or moments in which he imparted wisdom. He's literally going to have that as if it was like the music that he's playing out as he's falling asleep is going to be that thing of trying to get as much wisdom he can get from this Kalashtar that now has granted him this opportunity. And he probably is going to have his dreamless sleep. And it's probably going to be a deep one because this is the first time that he's actually going to sleep with a quarry and not a nightmare in a long, long time. So, yeah.
I'll lays down on, I'm going to guess that there's like a bench outside or something where he can get prone without being on the ground. And normally he sleeps with the ring on under the pillow, like I said, on the Dwarven city ship. But as he's trying to fall asleep, he takes the ring off and is kind of like fidgeting with it. And as he's sort of drifting off to sleep, kind of holds it in his hand, puts that hand on his chest. And the last thing that Jal remembers thinking is, I wish I knew what to do.
As that thought crosses your mind, and as your eyes just begin to close in slumber, you are left with a very comforting thought. At least you perceive it to be comforting. As you're staring up, you see the stars in the sky. Clear sky. Thousands and thousands and thousands of stars, and the moon very clearly hanging above. And in your limited idea of astronomy, there is a comforting thought that these same stars and moon are also above the city of Ashcaleen. And is that thought, however misguided and misplaced, because if it's above you, it does not mean that it is above Ashcaleen, just because that's not how space works.
What do you mean it's not how space works?
It does in fantasy.
Yeah. And that is what takes you into your slumber. Ivar, you try to push through into whatever memories, whatever nuggets of wisdom Gahareth might have left with Vel in this particular moment. But as you try and reach out, it is this feeling of just sheer exhaustion just comes over you. But also the sense of comfort and belonging and home, because for all intents and purposes, you have one right now. And that is a very comforting thought. And that is the thought that takes you into your sleep or your state. and you all wake up 8 hours later. So 8 hours after, like, say, 4 in the morning.
Noon.
Yeah.
Lunchtime. What about 11's?
Exactly. You wake up and the sun, very different from the moon, is bearing down on you, Jal, as you are just sort of sitting on this bench and you just have your head over and you're just like, oh, why is the moon so, oh shit, it's not the moon. And you realize that the sun is high in the sky and you hear the sounds of Brecca all around you. You are basically dead center in Brecca right now, in your current location. Neska, you awaken first, and you immediately sort of sense a stiffness in your muscles from sleeping in an awkward position, but you sort of adjust and you immediately feel Yanshu right next to you. And he's just now begun to stir as well. He opens his eyes and he sees you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I must have drifted off. What what time is so bright out? What is going on? Is it morning?
Relax. I think it's afternoon.
I take it we fell asleep. He looks back at the fire behind, and there's no fire. It's just burnt out logs. And oh. Let me do you a courtesy. And you made dinner last night. I will make breakfast.
Okay.
Ivar, you come out of your state. I'm going to roll to see how well Yanshu makes breakfast.
Also, I send you a couple of things on DM, Dan, just so you know. Some rediscoveries that I just did. I was like, oh, didn't know that.
Uh-oh. So you got your inbox is full, buddy.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Okay. Jal first, you do that. You are the first to wake up. You immediately go and start to investigate the immediate surroundings around you. And it is very much sort of it is a hustling, bustling. There are people coming out from the Shadowway or coming from the Barrens into the city. And there are caravans that are actually traversing the road that goes out past your house and out through the Shadowway and out into the desert. And you do see the guards, but also what appear to be some kind of military force wearing gray cloaks are all sort of coming to and from the barracks that are on opposite sides of the street. There's also these an assortment of tents that seem to house these soldiers as well. And then with Ivar, I know.
These secrets.
This is something that I have never liked about Kalashtar for this exact reason. I think it is a missed role-playing opportunity, which is why this is sort of a homebrew adjustment.
I agree. The second bit might be interesting. The second part.
Yes. Right. Okay. Okay. Yanshu is going to roll.
May God have mercy on our souls. Oh no, we're gonna die.
Well, the good thing is that Neska
I'm
and
immune to
Yanshu
poison.
they're immune to poison, so they'll be fine.
It's all right.
I'm gonna start rolling a new character.
It's all right. I have K points.
I can
cue it. Oh no, buddy.
The second worst roll in Dungeons and Dragons you can roll. Oh man.
Please tell me y'all stop by and grab some food. The way back.
With no small degree of enthusiasm, Yanshu launches himself into making breakfast. And whether it is just his over enthusiasm, trying to like piece together ingredients, and he remembers fragments of a recipe that he had when he was a child, of something that perhaps his grandmother used to make. He sort of remembers bits and pieces of what spices to add, a pinch of this, a dash of that. No exact measurements are required, just, a pinch and dash. And he somehow creates a mush. It looks like a paste of what could be something edible. It smells not altogether awful, but it is it's a paste. It's not. It can't even be considered like a soup, like a breakfasty stew. It's very much just kind of a mishmash, hodgepodge of like different ingredients that were found. It's not great. I wish I could say I rolled something better. It's just a fucking 2.
So there's leftover stew, right?
Yeah, this is something that, Jal, as he comes back into the house, he says, there's leftovers. The student from the night. Anshu comes over to you, Jal, and he has a bowl with a spoon, and he hands it to you. He's like, yes, here, I made breakfast for everyone. And he hands you the bowl.
Fantastic. And because he's none the wiser, he takes a big old bite, just right in and goes, yeah, you made breakfast.
Give me a deception check.
Giles good at this. Yeah, Giles real good at deception. I will also say this is the first roll that I'm making tonight, so
damn.
Playing how long I haven't had to touch any of the 2 new sets that I have for Giles. Remember when I said that he was good at deception? That's an 11.
11?
Yeah.
You are able to get it past a certain portion of your esophagus as you swallow what is, you can only describe as spicy cement. It is chalky. It is like you're able to choke down a gag. So you're able to like. It's great.
Yeah, buddy.
So good.
Yeah.
Say thank you. It's breakfast. He's just sort of like, Leonshu's just sort of looking at you very expectantly, just waiting for your words. And he looks like he's like a lost puppy who's just happy to be home.
Oh no.
And he's just like, I made something. It is a dish. It is a cultural dish from the Peshium wildlands. My grandmother used to make it. It is so good. And
yeah. Have you had any? Have you sent that?
Yes, not yet.
I mean, you made some. You should have some. I'm gonna go sit over here and I'm gonna eat this, buddy. And yeah, and he puts his hand on his shoulder and he goes, thank you so much.
Let's just say Yanshu, while he like his ability to cook was never gonna be high. Let's just put it that way. Everyone should try though. Try your hand in the kitchen, make something. Who knows? You could surprise yourself. Maybe just not Yanshu. Yanshu is much better at the taking of life and not necessarily the nurturing and giving of it. And so, whether he is aware or not, he almost killed everyone. So yeah, everybody. I'm assuming everybody is eating it, or no?
I rolled both Constitution and Deception to figure out how this is going to play for Ivar, and Ivar takes, gets the paste in his mouth and starts eating it, and you see the struggle on his face as he's just And you see that his face looks more like like a man who's doing like one of those like strongman competitions where he's like, I'm gonna get through this no matter what. And he's just that sort of like his fists are on the table like this, and he's just completely focused and determined. And it's just, and then he finally like swallows the goddamn thing, and it's just.
Congratulations, you have conquered the breakfast.
And he just has that moment where he looks at Yanshu and he's just, let's work. He cannot be dishonest about it.
Any hopes and dreams that Yanshu ever had of becoming a chef in this new world that they live in, or this new vocation potentially, maybe leaving behind the old assassin life in pursuit of, maybe being a different kind of man. It's not the cards. At least not right now. It's not in these kind of cards.
If he did exchange jobs from assassin to chef, he would still be killing people.
Still be an assassin.
Still be just as good at killing people.
Different methodology. From blades to poison.
He just doesn't know it's poison.
Pretty quick way of getting found out, though.
Let me see. I'm rolling an insight check. It's a 1. He is blissfully ignorant of everything, every hint, slight or otherwise, that people are sort of dropping his way, that he maybe needs to pursue another career. Yeah, our sweet Yanshu Yasha.
Careful there, Taylor.
Please don't die.
Taylor surviving.
You nearly got me. You nearly got me. Oh my gosh, that was funny.
All that to say is the breakfast is very much it has its highs and lows. The highs or the lows being Yanshu's cooking, the highs being y'all wake up and you're together, and there's always bread. Everyone eats more bread. And it's edible because Kahareth made it.
It's gonna be that thing where like he grabs you grab like this size of bread and you put this amount of paste on like the middle, and then you just fold the bread and you just eat it, hoping that the amount of bread is just going to completely eliminate this taste.
Yeah, it's basically what you do to convince a child to take the pill that you need them to swallow.
Yeah,
you just cover it up in like mashed potatoes or something, and just
Jal is like grabbing whatever he can to add to his bowl, not to try to make it good, but just to make it not this.
Yeah, you all do that, and breakfast is short and brutal, but you come out alive on the other side of it. And as you do, you hear the sounds of the hustle and bustle in the streets, and it is definitely, as the day in the morning progresses, definitely getting louder. As the commerce of the city heads into full throttle, basically.
I was going to say, with Jal taking a morning stroll, his objective was to try to see what he could try to glean about, knowing the insights that were provided by Gata, learn what he can, like any little tidbit or even a rumor or whatever little bit that he could gather just with that passive investigation of 13 on like the underbelly of the city. proper names or locations or potential events that have happened. Places to start.
On a 13.
Yeah, it's
There
just his passive
is-
investigation because I was going to have him walking for however long it took.
On a 13, you are able to. There are a couple passersby early in the morning as you wake up and go out that they give you little bits of pieces of information. Apparently, there's a big concert festival in town at this place called Silk Sensations. Um, there's a bunch of different bands and musical acts that are performing. And there's a sort of a chuckle, wink, wink, nod at the mention of Silk Sensations because everybody, at least from the information you glean, um, the place is one of the hottest bordellos in the city. It is owned by a tiefling and an elf, and they work together to make it an attraction.
Not me trying to remember if Lindsay said something about performing at Silk Sensations in character or out of character.
Not in character.
Damn.
They did mention that it was something that they were talking about in out of character, though.
Okay.
Wait a second. Was it in character?
I just watched the episode today and I can't remember if it was in character.
Hang on.
Like,
Let me go back through my notes. Braco ran into forgets, moving through the Golden Crescent. Ivar hears voices, blah, blah, blah. Fire Genasi, lying on the ground behind 3 strangers. Finally noticed that Ivar's missing. Combat. Says, got you. Yonshu falls unconscious. Joel flies out of the building, slims into another one. Explain that she's famous and it's urgent, that she needs to know what Ivar saw. Those bitches gots to go.
I feel
Sending
like somehow
stone.
you wrote it down in that font.
It is in quotations. Can't read her lips as she's pulled away. Nah.
Got it. Okay.
Damn.
We're going with no, not in character.
And if it turns out that it was in character, Jal doesn't remember. We'll go with that.
So yeah, you make your way back home after sort of acquiring this just information. It's very cursory. The Rainbow Crescent is, the Rainbow Crown rather, is very much full of all manner of entertainment, illicit or otherwise.
Ooh.
So pretty much like after, well, let's be honest, it probably would have been like as he is eating his breakfast, um, that he starts up a conversation like talking about this, like, so I took a walk trying to keep an ear to the ground, try to do the thing that I can do. And didn't really hear too much, although I guess that there is a big attraction of some type of music event at a place called Silk Sensations. I don't know about you, but a music event in a place that's supposed to have some sort of seedy underbelly. I mean, there's at least going to be some people there that are going to know some people who are in charge. So I mean, it's not much, but it's something. And with that, Jal kind of looks at Ivar and gives a nod. He woke up today and decided, yeah, I got in this position from doing what I thought was the right thing, and this feels like the right thing. So he woke up and started hitting the city streets, trying to get a jump on Ivar's conquest, we'll say.
Ivar notices all the reports that he's bringing and then the look, and he just gives him a very, very subtle smile and nod. And Ivar then addresses the group. Perhaps that will be a place where we should all become acquainted.
with other members of the city. However, I suppose there is some housekeeping, as it were.
We did that last night, and he starts looking around.
I am aware that this sudden blessing we find ourselves in, this home, this house, is not something that we can take for granted. And I know that for some of us, it may be the closest thing to calmness and quietude that we've ever experienced, or at least in a long time. Now, I know my calling, but I also understand that I'm not doing this alone. And so we have a decision to make. The path that we have before us will ask of us to encounter questionable people, dangerous people with resources who know the land better than we do. Up until this point, right now, this very moment, this house remains an advantage, a secret that we possess. There is no connection to us to it. However, once we take on this path, I am sure it will no longer be a secret eventually, that this may be a place where we dwell. So, the way I see it, and please add any other points of view that you may see fit, but we can seek to execute our new path separated from this location and try to keep it as a safe haven with secret access and no connection to the actions that we're about to take. Or we seek to build this place and turn it into a beacon for any who may need aid and who may be seeking to stand against the darkness that this realm might be facing. I would like to open the floor to you now.
Neska's going to step forward, her head high and proud. Dealing with shady people in dangerous situations is nothing new to me. I'm of two minds about this place, and I feel we can combine them. Keep it a secret, but also as a beacon. It doesn't have to be obvious to be noticeable. The door is red with a rope handle. That is all those who wish to help us need to know to find it, and only if we know we can trust them. While there is room here for us, there is not so much room for a small army.
Indeed. And as you said,
for now, we may use it as a private quarters or simply as a home. And the word doesn't feel quite comfortable on her tongue.
I am aware of your skills, yours and Yanshu's, which is why I thought, whatever the choice that we decide to make to keep the secrecy of this place, we will strongly rely on your abilities to remain unseen and to be able to see that which the rest of us cannot. We are choosing to face a city we do not know with a threat we do not truly know. And your abilities will be quite useful and paramount for this task. Joe?
You're just going to kind of look around and, I mean, you can kind of do either. Um, like what Neska said about trying to keep this place as a spot for people to come and ask for aid when they need it. And I mean, if space is really the issue, I mean, we can take naps in the ring. that'll that'll work. Maybe we'll keep that for emergencies or whatever the case may be. And I may not be a looks at Yanshu and goes assassin, or and he looks at Nesgun and goes spy, or he looks at Ivar and he goes, whatever you are. I don't really do subtle or sneaky or behind the scenes, but I did serve the law. And I do have the ability to investigate some things. I can pick up on clues. I can look for um I can look for things that, other people won't, but other than that, I'm just really good at punching people in the face from over 100 feet away. I'll help. Everybody always says beware the dark, and you guys are comfortable in it. That's not really my style. Obviously. Looking.
There is another option, and that is we prepare this place to be a last resort. We choose to gather our resources. We prep it, guard it, bond it, use whatever magic we can use and tools that we possess. We step out, and we only return if we find ourselves in a place where no other place feels safe. This could be a place where, should we ever be separated, this could be the place where we meet, or the place where we make our last stand. After all, like I said, nobody will connect us to this place until we begin to become more known. For I am no doubt that just like we encountered those people yesterday, more will follow, seeking to understand us, not to mention Rihanna knows our faces. So we are not an unsuspected surprise. Whatever's coming will know who we are.
His Majesty Lord DM.
You're muted, by the way.
Oh, not me. I thought it was me.
Yanshu has been mulling over everything that everyone has said and is listened especially to Neska. I think that he looks at Neska. And I'm sorry to say this, but even though this place is a home and has been a source of comfort for all of us, we cannot stay here. I think that, if anything, we need to find a very, very dark place to make some move out of, because, as Ivar just pointed out, Rihanna knows what we look like. And what's worse, there is now some sort of connection between us and the fiery lady we encountered yesterday. And we were not the original target, but we might be in the future. we do not act wisely right now. Neska and I can work out how we can make this place a safe haven for others. We have a system of signs that we use whenever we are on an assignment in a foreign location. It was how she initially sent a message to us when we were in Ashcaleen. We can encounter other people and we can provide them safety and solace here. We can teach them our signals and let them know when there is danger and when they are free to be here, when it is safe. Right now, this city is not safe. And what's worse is we don't really know anything about this place. We don't know the lay of the land. If I were with my fellow Yuan Ti, we would tread very carefully here. Because sadly, there is somebody in this city who knows what we look like. And we are usually very good about concealing our identities. We do not have that advantage. So again, I say we must find a dark, dark place. And find from there a good place to strike out from. Just my guess.
We were not followed here last night.
Not from what you could tell, no.
No. But I saw how comfortable you all were. I do not feel comfortable taking that away from you. So, as I was saying about a beacon and the red door, again, this place is not that big. We can find another place to meet. Still use the symbols. Albeit I would like to change some. Therefore, that meeting stays separate from where we are. We can determine secure routes and make sure that this place is ours.
Then I suppose our task at first will be to get to understand this place, this city, its people. And if y'all mentioned there is a performance happening, it might be to our interest to see who attends and what we can learn. We go as travelers. We keep our eyes and our ears open. And we see what we can see.
I have two questions that Jal wouldn't ask, but Matt would like to know. Number one, roughly the scope of this building that we have inherited, like size, shape, 2 floors, basement, yada, yada, yada.
Single level.
Single level. What a guy. Alrighty. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Like single room or like divided into like
No,
living
multiple
area,
rooms.
kitchen?
Multiple rooms. The front entryway and kitchen area is sort of open concept, but as it goes further into the house, definitely room separation, walls floor to ceiling, and rear entry or exit out into the garden enclosed space. There is a way to get to the roof. There is a ladder that opens up a hatch that you're able to access the roof that way, where somebody might hang up laundry to dry after being washed. But yeah, that's about the lay of it.
No basement level.
Not that you know of.
We'll come back to that. Second question, and this is definitely one that Jal would not ask. With how gracious this man was, did he leave any money behind?
None.
Okay.
Zero money. Whatever, it's possible, but whatever money that he may have possessed, he literally spent every last cent making sure that this house was ready to receive you.
Okay.
He left no, aside from the few things in that chest. He left all of his worldly possessions inside of it.
Wooden floors,
Yes.
carpets, or rugs, or anything.
Yeah, I did mention that there were some rugs,
I'm
some
going-
fairly ornate rugs. Yeah.
I'm also going to say one of the other things that, after resting, one of the other things that Ivar would have attempted to tap into through Val would have been, other than that chest, if there would be any other important things, be it items or locations within the house that Ivar should know about or that could be useful for them.
So you
henceforth.
sort of passed out, but before you were able to make it that far.
Yeah, he would have do like I'm saying, like
yeah.
he would do it afterwards. He wake up.
Okay. Give me a history check.
The bathroom is over on the right. They
And
keep the
this is
food
how
in
you
there.
fold thingy. Oh, dirty 20.
Okay. As you have sort of accessed slowly over the morning, it's not necessarily a memory, but it is sort of like a memory of Kahareth. How to best say this? People who are trained in elements of spycraft will lie to themselves repeatedly about something to convince themselves that that thing, the lie, is the reality. That way people can't necessarily pick up on any visual tick that they might have that this person is not telling the truth.
Mhm.
This lie is that the home is single level. And the one thing that Kahareth seems to be indicating is not to look at the rug beneath the kitchen table.
I'm gonna say that while the conversation is happening, there's a moment when like Ivar sort of seems to zone out. And he just has that moment where he's listening to everybody talking and his head is sort of like tapping on the table. And then it's just sort of slowly drifting, and then his eyes sort of go, and then he just goes, there's no second level. There's no second level.
I'm sorry?
There's no second level.
I thought that we had to like level up our game. We had to like get set and then get to the second level, you know. Shutting up.
Move. And he literally like stands up, grabs the table, and starts to slide. Like he just literally, like the edge of the table where he is, he sort of like lifts us and just starts to like attempt to like move it aside.
Jowl's breakfast falls off onto the floor and he goes, "Oh no."
Dang it, I was
It's
totally gonna eat
broken.
that.
Oh,
Darn it.
I
Oh,
guess
no.
I'll have soup
The
from
ta-
last night.
The table moves. You move the table over. And Yanshu sort of stands up, just sort of looking at you. What is going on? And you lift up the rug, and you see that this wooden flooring is very much sort of tongue and groove flooring, except this one portion right beneath the table, where the tongue and groove is going the opposite direction, and it looks to be about the size of the table itself.
You see Ivar is sort of just, his hands are sort of tracing and looking at the whole thing as he's like, his mind is sort of kind of moving back and forth between the feeling of what he's staring at right now with in front of him versus like the feeling of staring at this before. And so he like his hand sort of moves through the edges and attempts to reach for whatever area he may feel like he can either lift a piece of the wood or anything and try to move it, try to sense it.
Yeah. As you lay your hands and run your hands over the exterior or the top of this floor, you do feel that along one of the tongue and groove pieces, there is a small slat that you're able to sort of get your fingers underneath. And as you pull on it, suddenly it is revealed that this thing is actually like almost a hatch, a door of some kind in the floor itself. As you pull it back, suddenly there's this sort of this escape of air from the floor beneath, and just dust everywhere. And you see a ladder step that goes down into the earth.
Ivar just has a moment as he opens it and looks down. He's just, I cannot wait to keep learning more from you, of my friend, says to himself, and he just starts going down.
Jal just says, "Yeah, but I didn't tell you about this." Is it
Yanshu looks at
dark
you,
down there?
Neska, and says, "Never a dull moment with this group."
After you.
We need to talk some more about the what changes we want to make with the communication and the signs that we use.
Yes.
He makes his way down the ladder.
You just hear from underneath, Jal, light.
Oh, so this is the thing that we way back in the first episode. I don't actually have like the light cantrip. I have prestidigitation, so I can light something like a torch. So do I see one of those with
Probably
the
have
fact that I
candles
have
around.
100? Oh, that's true. I'll grab a candle and light it with a green flame and bring that down. But beyond that, I do have Devil's Sight out to 120 feet.
Nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
As you descend into the dirt and the area beneath this home that belongs to Kahareth of the House of Clevis, I need each of you to give me a perception check.
Does the man with the memories get any advantage on it?
No.
Damn it. Oh, no need it. 23.
23?
Cool.
Your boy got a whopping 10.
10? Okay.
Perception, I got a 12, but my passive is 13.
13? Okay.
My passive is also 10.
That is a dirty 20 for Yanshu.
Yeah.
That is a 19 for Val. As you descend into the earth, Ivar, there is suddenly this almost this tingling sensation in all of your extremities. And Vel says in their voice,
Hold on. What is going on? Why is this? Wait, this isn't me. What is?
Yanshu, as he is looking, as he's about to step down onto the ladder, Neska, are standing next to Yanshu, gesturing for him to go first. He has just finished saying to you, we're going to have to work on our change in how we want to mark the door and make this place noticeable for people. And he sort of like takes your hand and like he's gonna like steady himself as he gets onto the top rung of the ladder as it descends down. Ivar, you feel this sort of the surge of anxiety from Vel. You hear their words. And Yanshu, you suddenly get the sense of something. You don't know why you would sense this. You feel something is coming. Something is changing. Neska, as you feel the pressure of Yanshu's hand grasping yours, still steadying themselves as they descend, he looks back at you and sort of like this haphazard like smirk. Thank you for holding my hand as I go down the ladder. And there's this feeling of a wave, a force pass over you. Passes over the house, passes over everybody in the tunnel. There's the sound of this breeze, and suddenly, Neska, your hand is holding nothing. And Yanshu has disappeared. And Neska, as you're looking around the house, there are people. You do know that Ivar is there, Jal is there. But suddenly the interior of the house changes. There are some portraits that now appear upon the wall. There is a candle that has suddenly shifted from the window to the dinner table. There are some curtains that are now hanging as separators for the different rooms. But Yanshu is gone. That is where we will leave it for tonight.
Wait! Why?
What?
Why? My boy!
How dare
No!
But why?
Thank you so much for watching. Tune in next time when we will find out what the heck has happened to our survivors of Ashcaleen. See you guys soon. Love you all. Have a great rest of your week, and may you roll nothing but natural 20s. Bye, gang.
Bye.
Bye.